Have you ever looked back at your relationships and wondered, why do I keep ended up with the same type of person? Maybe they have different faces, different personalities, different stories, but somehow the relationship feels familiar. You feel intensely drawn to them. You think about them constantly. You want their attention. You want them to choose you. But at the same time, you don't feel safe emotionally. You feel anxious. You feel confused and you are constantly wondering where you stand with this person. You don't feel secure. You don't know when they are going to pull away, but somehow you feel deeply attracted to them. And somehow, even when you know the relationship isn't good for you, letting go feels almost impossible. What if the reason some relationships feel so powerful isn't because they are healthy? What if part of the attraction is because it feels familiar? That's what you used to. Maybe you grew up with toxic family member or narcissistic people and you think that those type of people feelings they are okay. So today we are talking about why people can sometimes feel drawn to relationship patterns that resemble what they already know, even when those patterns don't feel safe or healthy. On these channels, welcome back to White Hill. We talk about how difficult childhood and family experiences can continue to affect the way we see ourselves, relate to other people, and experience relationships. And today we are talking about a difficult pattern that we all trauma survivors experience. Being drawn to people who feel familiar but don't feel emotionally safe. And I want to be clear. This doesn't mean that everyone who has an unhealthy relationship is unconsciously choosing trauma. Relationships are complicated for everyone. Even if you are traumatized, you have a lot of trauma, or you are healthy, relationships are complicated because you're dealing with different people, different backgrounds, different characters. People meet difficult partners for many different reasons, but sometimes our past can influence what feels normal, recognizable, or emotionally powerful to us. And understanding that can be an important part of healing. And familiar doesn't always mean like it's safe. One of the most important things to understand is this: your mind doesn't automatically define familiar as unhealthy. And mostly if you grow up in an unhealthy environment, familiar for you is unhealthy. Familiar can simply feel normal. When you meet an unhealthy person, you feel normal because that's what you're used to. So if you grow up around emotional unpredictability, you may be used to unpredictability. If love felt conditional, you may be used to having to earn affection. If you had to work hard for attention, someone who is difficult to reach may feel strangely compelling. Also, if you were constantly trying to keep the peace, you may automatically become comfortable taking responsibility for another person's emotion. And as an adult, you may meet someone who creates those same feelings, not necessarily in exactly the same way, but something about the emotional experience feels recognizable. And you may think, there's just something about them that I cannot put my finger on. And I've never felt a connection like this before. No, it's the toxicity you're feeling, my love. But sometimes it's worth asking, is this connection or is this just familiarity? Because those are not always the same thing. Chaos can feel like chemistry. Sometimes what we call chemistry is actually intensity. The relationship moves quickly. You experience incredible highs, the painful lows. Then also you start experiencing painful lows. And one day they make you feel incredibly special. The next day you are wondering what changed. And that uncertainty can make you focus on them even more. You wait for their message, you analyze their behavior, you wonder how to get back to the good version of the relationship. And when they finally give you attention again, the relief can feel overwhelming. You may mistake that relief for love. You mistake it for love because you may think This must be important because I feel so much. But intensity isn't always intimacy. Anxiety isn't always attraction. And chaos isn't always chemistry. Sometimes a relationship feels intense because your nervous system is constantly activated. And that's very different from feeling genuinely safe, seen, and connected. Toxic partners or narcissistic partners, they use that a lot. At first, they love bomb you. They give you all their attention. They buy you gift, and then they moving so fast you don't even have time to breathe or to take the time to think about the person or what you want in the relationship because they get you obsessed with them by just being pulling away, calling you, or giving you beautiful things, and you think that's the way the person is. But in actuality, it was just an act to get you, fall for it, fall in love. And when this person starts showing you their true color, and sometimes they do that intentionally, they pull away, and then to get you more attracted or more obsessed with them. And you start wondering, oh my God, this person changed. They haven't changed. They just use a tactic, a toxic pattern that you feel familiar with because of your trauma, just to pull you into their toxicity. And that is not love. And also, sometimes we become deeply attracted to someone who is difficult to reach. And part of us starts believing if I can just get this person to love me, everything will finally feel different. So you may become the person who understands them, the person who waits, the person who gives them another chance, the person who believes that if you love them enough, they'll eventually change. And underneath all of that may be much deeper hope. Maybe this time I won't be rejected. You start thinking about yourself like maybe this time I won't be rejected. Maybe this time someone will finally choose me. Maybe this time if I try hard enough, love will stay. But you shouldn't have to lose yourself trying to convince someone to value you. Love isn't supposed to require you to constantly prove that you are worthy of love or you worth loving. Healthy love may feel strange at first if you have a lot of trauma or you went through a lot of manipulation as a kid or growing up. So you feel like when no stable love or healthy love come, you might feel strange. And this is where healing can become confusing because you meet someone who is consistent, they are kind, they communicate, they don't disappear, they don't make you guess how they feel about you, they respect your boundaries, they don't create constant drama. And instead of immediately feeling relieved, you might feel bored. You might think there's no spark. Why don't I feel obsessed? Why does this feel so different? Sometimes peace can feel unfamiliar after chaos. That doesn't mean every calm relationship is right for you. And it doesn't mean you should force yourself to be with someone you don't connect with um, just because this person is healthy or calm. But it can be helpful to ask yourself, do I genuinely dislike this connection? Or does consistency simply feel unfamiliar to me? Because when your body is used to intensity, calm can initially feel like nothing is happening, but sometimes nothing dangerous is happening. And also that can make you feel unfamiliar too. And also you may be mistaking anxiety for connection. Think about how much mental energy and unpredictability or unpredictable relationship can take. You're constantly thinking about the person. What did they mean? Why haven't they called me? Are they upset with me? Do they still care? Are they pulling away? And because they taking up so much space in your mind, it can feel like you have an incredibly deep connection with them. But constantly thinking about someone doesn't necessarily mean the relationship is healthy. Sometimes you are not thinking about them because you feel deeply connected to them. You are thinking about them because you don't feel secure. Your mind is trying to solve uncertainty, and uncertainty can become exhausting. So next time, just ask yourself when you feel very obsessed or connected to someone, just ask yourself, do I miss this person or do I miss the relief I feel when they finally give me attention? That's a difficult question, but sometimes it can reveal the difference between genuine connection and an exhausting cycle of anxiety and relief. And also, let's discuss why letting go can feel so hard. Letting go might feel so hard because of familiarity. You may know someone isn't good for you, but that's what your nervous system used to. You used to that toxicity, that toxic love. And your friends, they may see it. They see that this person is not good for you. Your family also see it. Even you may see it. And yet, you still feel pulled back and you still feel drawn into this person. That doesn't mean you are weak. It doesn't mean you are incapable of making good decisions. Sometimes letting go means giving up more than just the person. You start grieving. You may also be giving up the hope that one day things will finally change. You start grieving the hope that they will become consistent, the hope that they will finally understand you, the hope that they will finally give you the love you've been waiting for. And grieving that hope can be incredibly painful, but healing sometimes means as accepting that what a relationship is actually is, instead of continuing to fall in love with what it could become. So, how do you begin changing these patterns? Just start by asking yourself different questions. Instead of asking, how strongly am I attracted to them? Just ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm around them? Do I feel safe? Do I feel respected? Can I be myself? Can I communicate with them without being judged? Do I constantly feel confused? Am I always trying to earn their attention? Do their words and actions match? Do I feel calm? Or am I constantly on edge or waiting for something to go wrong? And here's another important question. Am I choosing this person or am I trying to win them over? Or I'm trying to win them? Because those are very different things. You deserve relationships where you don't have to compete for basic care. You deserve consistency without having to earn it. You deserve to be able to express your needs without fearing that the relationship will disappear. And you deserve to choose someone based on how they actually treat you, not only on how intensely they make you feel. If you repeatedly find yourself drawn to people who feel familiar but unsafe, don't shame yourself. Your patterns didn't appear for no reason. Sometimes we are drawn toward what we know before we've had the opportunity to experience something different. But awareness creates a choice. You can begin noticing the difference between familiar and safe, intensity and intimacy, anxiety and connection. Being chosen occasionally and being consistently valued is two different things. Healing doesn't mean you will never feel attracted to the wrong person again. It means that you can become more aware of what you're feeling and make decisions that don't require you to abandon yourself. Because familiar doesn't always mean harm, and love doesn't have to hurt you in order to feel real. If this video helped you understand one of your relationship patterns, subscribe to Rise Heal. Here, we're learning how childhood experiences can shape our relationships, self worth, boundaries, nervous system, and the way we connect also with other people. And I'd love to ask you, have you ever confused familiarity with love? You can simply put in the comment familiar if this pattern feels familiar to you. And remember, you don't have to keep choosing what hurts you just because it feels familiar. I'll see you in the next video.